Hello sexy beasts and welcome back to War Thunder. This is going to be an update video on the preview of the Merkava Mk.1. The stats of the vehicles are now final, and as such I have unlisted the previews since they are no longer up to date. If you still want to watch those, you can click the link in the description down below. It will link you to the unlisted video. But without further ado, let's get into it. The Merkava Mk.1 is an Israeli rank 6 event reward main battle tank in the US tech tree. This is not a premium tank, but it is rare. It is currently only available from the 11th to the 22nd of April through the Battlefield Engineers event. If you are watching this video after this event, likely the only way for you to be able to get this tank would be through the Gaijin marketplace. And it's likely going to be absurdly expensive. At battle rating 8.7, the Merkava features a 105mm Shah rear cannon, functionally similar to the M68 and the L7 105mm guns, which also includes the ammo types. This cannon fires every 8.7 seconds, with crew training being able to bring it down to a minimum of 6.7 seconds, identical to the M60A1. This tank can hold up to 62 rounds of the same ammo types as the Shot-Call Dalet. Stock heat FS with 400mm of penetration, a tier 1 upgrade HESH shell, a tier 3 upgrade smoke shell, and a tier 4 upgrade M.2 APF SDS shell with 337mm of penetration at 0 degrees and 194mm of penetration at 6 degrees. This is a very good shell for the battle rating and is enough to deal with almost anything quite easily. The Merkava has very good optics. There isn't much of a difference between the base magnification and the zoom magnification, but you can easily snipe at long range, especially with the laser rangefinder, which is a tier 4 upgrade. Keep in mind though, the high base zoom can lead to tunnel vision, so don't run around cities constantly zoomed in. Secondary weaponry consists of 4 machine guns. You have a 7.62mm coaxial machine gun, an additional 2 7.62mm machine guns on top of the turret, and a 50 caliber machine gun right on top of the gun. This allows you to defend yourself against low-flying aircraft and helicopters, and the 50 cal can deal with some lightly armored stuff. As tier 3 you can also equip a smoke grenade launcher upgrade, which is very good. Instead of launching multiple grenades at the same time in various directions creating a wide screen, it pops one grenade at a time, very much like a Churchill. And since you have a total of 30 of these, you can very effectively lay down long and big smoke screens for a very long time all around capture zones, making it one of the better tanks to actually try and capture objectives in wide open fields. The Merkava also features some excellent gun handling. Thanks to the stabilizer and the base horizontal reverse speed of 28 degrees per second, up to 40 degrees per second with the proper upgrades and crew training, you can respond to threats very quickly. This makes this tank very able in close quarters city combat, where targets can pop up from unexpected directions. The vertical traverse is a bit limited. It still has a standard 20 degrees of elevation, but only 8 degrees of depression, which is slightly less than most American tanks. It's still not a Soviet amount of depression, but you have to be a bit more careful when cresting hills. The mobility of the Merkava, which was the main drawback during the preview, has been upgraded a lot. It is now much better, but still not outstanding. It still features a 960 horsepower engine when fully upgraded and still weighs 60 tons, giving it about a 16 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio. This allows the Merkava to reach a top speed of 45 km per hour, even on some rough terrain, and a reverse speed of up to 8 km per hour, which isn't exactly stellar, but is workable. Sadly, the Merkava does not feature neutral steering, which can make maneuvering in tight areas a bit complicated at times. The biggest change since the preview is the additional gearing. Whereas before it only had 2 gears, which resulted in absolutely horrible acceleration, now the Merkava features 4 forward gears, which result in pretty decent acceleration. Now you still won't be the first to capture the points, which puts you at a great disadvantage in tank realistic battle, given that you don't get the spawn points for that, but you can at least move about at a steady pace, and you don't suffer the chieftain syndrome. Now to the most unique part about this tank. The Merkava was designed with crew survivability as a #1 priority, and as such, the armor and survivability is very interesting and quite unique among War Thunder. Don't get your hopes up, pretty much anything will penetrate you. But penetrating hits won't necessarily do damage due to the layout. The hull has at best 19mm of cast armor, which is 5% weaker than rolled armor, and it won't really stop anything except from medium caliber SPDA from the front. The extreme angle of the upper frontal plates can help with bouncing some shots, especially APDS, APHE or APCR, but it really is not a guarantee. The turret is similar, with quite thin plates, but all kinds of sharp angles. The secret of the Merkava is the internal layout. For a shell to reach the main crew compartment, where 3 out of the 4 crew are, it has to go through the frontal 90mm plate, a fuel tank, a first internal 30mm plate, the transmission, the engine block, and then another 30mm plate. This makes it almost impossible for HeatFS or APHE to one-shot the Merkava through the front of the hull, which leaves the turret crew completely fine and able to shoot back whilst the enemy is reloading. This tank is extremely trolly and survivable against anything but APFSDS. APFSDS is the nemesis of the Merkava, and it will go through all of that frontal hull armor protection and almost guaranteedly one-shot the tank. Sadly, at this battle rating, APFSDS is very prevalent, and getting shot by it is the norm. The turret of course is going to be a lot weaker, given that you don't have a massive engine block protecting anything there, rather you only have the heads of the crew. That said, you still got 2 internal armor plates, equaling to about 150mm of protection, plus whatever the frontal plate gives it when hit, which can be enough to stop some APHE if it detonates before reaching the crew compartment itself, but most of the time a penetrating hit to the turret will result in some crew loss, if not outright a one-shot kill. The MRX aren't really much of a concern, they are way in the back of the tank and protected by space armor from the rear as well. So generally speaking, your crew will get hit before the ammo does. If you are absolutely concerned about MRX, you can limit your ammo load to 14 shells, but I found it much more useful to simply bring a healthy supply of APFSDS as my main rounds, and a couple of HeatFS shells as a backup for dealing with hull breakable stuff, and smoke shells for covering my approach on wide open fields. In conclusion then, the Merkava is actually not a bad tank, definitely not as bad as it seemed during the preview. It doesn't do anything horribly, and apart from the gun handling, which is excellent, it doesn't really do anything outstandingly well either. It's really just a nice, good, average tank, at a battle rating that does save it from getting slaughtered by top-tier main battle tanks. The main problem the tank itself faces is the incredible weakness to APFSDS shells, which of course are incredibly common at this battle rating. You're either going to have a great time surviving APHE from low-tier Russian tanks, or you're going to get nuked in one-shots. There isn't really much of an in-between. One thing to note, however, is that the stock grind might be quite horrible. Now, my test drive came already fully upgraded, so I can't really speak from experience here, but looking at the mods, it doesn't look too good. Firstly, you are stuck with HeatFS until tier 4, which is going to be an issue if you face tanks with ERA protection. You also get no smoke, shells or grenades until tier 3, and any penetrating hit that doesn't outright kill you will set you on fire and immobilize you. So you absolutely, crucially need fire protection equipment, which you don't get when stock. And this thing will come stock, it is not a premium. Once it is fully upgraded, it's a decent tank, it's quite a good tank. But stock? But by far the biggest issue, which isn't even an issue of the tank itself really, is the nation it is put in. If the Merkava was in any other nation but the Americans, this battle rating 8.7 tank would mostly get down-tiered due to the top-tier 10.0 spam, sucking up all the 9.0s. This would result in APFSDS shells being much less common, and the Merkava being a really good tank. Sadly, America is the only nation that has a 9.0 premium tank in the form of the XM1 Premium, and that is getting spammed to all hell, sucking you up with them. And since a great many of these don't know what they're doing with their tank at this battle rating, you're going to be facing a lot of lost matches. If the Merkava was, for example, in the British tree, it would be amazing, compensating for the poor mobility of the chieftains and getting down-tiered a lot more often. But thanks to the existence of the XM1, once more ruining everything for everyone, the Merkava's chance to truly shine is ruined. And that is it for the final review of the Merkava. I will be playing this tank later today on my birthday stream. I'm having birthday tomorrow, so I won't be able to make videos tomorrow or stream tomorrow, so I'm going to do it today. If you want to see that, and you want to see all the other event vehicles, which I also got test drives of, tune into the stream on twitch.tv/MikeGoesBoom. It should be live sometime around when this video goes live. Other than that, I want to hear from you in the comments what you think about the Merkava now. Is it less of a disappointment? Are you actually going to try and go for it? What do you think about the general attributes of the tank, and what do you think about it being in the American tech tree? I'll be very eager to read your comments. But this is going to be it for today, lads. Like this video if you did, subscribe if you're around here. My name is MikeGoesBoom, and as always, I will see you in the next one.
You can lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow